Hello everyone, I welcome you all to this newspaper analysis initiative. The first article for the day, Economic Survey predicts bright India, increasingly darker world. The economic survey is basically the government's annual report card and forecast on how India's economy is doing and where it's headed. And this year's survey says one simple thing: India looks strong and hopeful. The rest of the world looks risky and unstable. See, India's growth outlook has improved. Earlier, India was expected to grow around 6.5% in the medium term. Now, the survey says India can grow around 7% steadily. And for the next few years, 25-26, growth expected around 7.4% and 2026 to 2027, growth likely between 6.8 to 7.2%. So in simple words, India's engine is running well and has picked up speed. Now, why is India doing better? The survey says growth is improving because of three main reasons. Number one, more capital. Government is spending more on roads, railways, ports, digital infrastructure, etc. Companies are investing more in factories and machines. Number two, better labor participation. More people are entering formal jobs. Employment is becoming more organized and documented. Number three, better efficiency. Same labor, same capital, but more output than before. Reforms have reduced waste and friction. It also mentions manufacturing push like PLI schemes, easier FDI rules, better logistics, simpler tax laws, support to MSMEs, stronger banks and companies. All this together means India can grow faster than earlier. Now comes the worrying part, the world. While India looks bright, the survey says the global economy looks dark and uncertain. It gives three possible global scenarios for 2026. Scenario 1, worst case 10 to 20% chance. This is the scariest scenario. A global crisis worse than the 2008 financial crisis. Problems in financial markets, technology sector and geopolitics. All these problems hit together, not separately. A big risk mentioned was overinvestment in artificial intelligence. Many AI businesses depend on very optimistic timelines, few customers, and huge long term funding. If this AI bubble bursts, money becomes tight. Investors panic, stock markets fall, and capital flows stop suddenly. If this also combines with wars of trade disruptions, global money flow can shrink badly, countries may turn inward and defensive. Scenario 2, best case, 40 to 45% chance. Things continue like 2025, no big collapse, but the system is fragile. Any shock can cause trouble. So, not comfortable, just manageable. Scenario 3, multipolar breakdown, 40 to 45% chance. World becomes more divided, big powers fight for influence, Russia-Ukraine war continues, global cooperation weakens, and trade and security arrangements break down. This means more uncertainty, less trust, and more economic disruptions. Now, what does this mean for India? The survey is clear here. India is better placed than most countries, but India is not immune. The main risk for India in all scenarios is disruption of capital flows, pressure on the rupee, and foreign investors pulling money out. This impact may last more than 1 year and be difficult to reverse quickly. So, what should India do? In very simple terms, the survey says India must earn more foreign currency through exports, through attracting investors. Because as Indians earn more, imports will naturally rise and imports bill will increase. So India needs strong exports and investor confidence to balance this rising imports. The next article is Supreme Court stays 2026 UGC campus equity rules, calls it too sweeping. What is this issue about? The Supreme Court of India has put a temporary stop on a new set of rules made by the University Grants Commission called the UGC Equity Regulations 2026. These rules were meant to deal with discrimination inside college and university campuses. Now, why did the Supreme Court stop these rules? The court felt that the rules were too broad and one-sided. According to the 2026 rules, caste-based discrimination was defined only as discrimination against SC, ST and OBC students. If discrimination happened against general category students, the rules gave no protection or remedy. The court said these rules have sweeping consequences and can divide society. So, for now, the old 2012 UGC regulations will continue. The 2026 rules are kept on hold. The next article for the day, India Arab League bridging cultures creating opportunities. What is happening right now? Leaders from the Arab League are meeting in India for the second India Arab Foreign Ministers meeting on January 30 31, 2026. This is a big diplomatic event for India. Why? Because the West Asia region is tense and unstable and the world order is changing fast. Now, what is the global background regarding it? Right now, the Arab region is facing many troubles. Tension around Iran with heavy US military presence. Syria is unstable despite a ceasefire. Gaza is slowly moving towards peace, but it's fragile. Saudi Arabia and UAE, usually close allies, now have differences, especially over Yemen. So the region is uncertain, politically sensitive, and strategically important. And India is watching all this very carefully. Now, what is the Arab League? The Arab League is a group of 22 Arab countries from North Africa, West Asia. It was formed in 1945 to promote cooperation, unity, and common positions on global issues. India's relations with Arab countries are very old, but formal engagement with the Arab League started in 2002 through an agreement. Now, how has India Arab engagement grown? Over time, India and the Arab League created regular dialogue platforms such as annual meetings, Arab India Cooperation Forum, trade and investment summits. Now, a new business platform is also being launched, a joint body of chambers of commerce, industry, and agriculture. This means more business, more investments, and more job opportunities. Now, what are the main pillars of India Arab relations? They stand on five strong pillars. Number one, strategic and political partnership. India has signed strategic partnership agreements with many Arab countries like Oman, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Qatar. Their long term visions, like Saudi Vision 2030, match well with India's Viksit Bharat 2047. Both sides want growth, stability, and modernization. Second pillar is trade and investment. Total trade is over $240 billion. UAE alone trades more than $115 billion with India. And Arab countries have promised huge investments in India's infrastructure. Most of India's trade passes through Suez Canal, Red Sea, and Gulf of Aden. So, regional stability directly affects India's economy. Number three, connectivity and corridors. The India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor is very important. It aims to move goods faster, reduce cost, and strengthen supply chains. This corridor is likely to be discussed in the meeting. Number four, digital and fintech cooperation. India's digital systems are spreading in the region. RuPay card in UAE, UPI payments accepted in many Arab countries, and Rupee Dirham settlement system has started. This makes payments faster, cheaper, and more transparent. Number five, energy and security. This is the critical area. Arab countries supply India with around 60% of crude oil, 70% of natural gas, and over 50% of fertilizers. India also cooperates with them on maritime security, anti piracy, and counter terrorism. Arab countries have supported India strongly against terrorism. Now we move on to the defense and security cooperation. India works with Arab countries on defense training, joint exercises, and defense manufacturing. India may also export fighter jets, missiles, and defense equipment. Further cooperation areas include cyber security, space, and drones. Now, why is this meeting important? Because India is becoming a major global power. Arab countries see India as reliable and balanced. Both sides benefit from peace, trade, and stability. The next article is India prepared for the end of globalization? The core question of this article is very simple. The old world of globalization is ending. Is India ready to survive and succeed in the new one? First, what is happening to globalization? Globalization was not just about free trade, it was about countries trusting each other, rules being followed, big global institutions managing trade, money, and cooperation, the idea that everyone benefits together. That system is now breaking down. A clear example is US President. He openly says, do what I want or I will impose tariffs. Trade is about power, not cooperation. Surplus is equal to strength, deficit is equal to weakness. This thinking is called mercantilism, an old idea where trade is a weapon. So, global trade is no longer rules based, it's becoming power based. Now, why did globalization collapse? Two big reasons are here. Number one, inequality inside countries. Profits grew fast, wages did not. Capital benefited more than workers. Some regions lost industries, migration has increased, and people felt the system helps elites, not us. That anger produced populist politics. Number two, the rise of China. China used global markets in a unique way. It took full advantage of global trade but did not follow liberal rules. Strong state control over capital, labor, and information. China built massive export capacity, ran huge trade surpluses, and blocked the industrial growth of poorer countries, including India. Over time, China became rich, powerful, and an alternative model to Western liberalism. This shook the foundations of the global order. Now, what is replacing globalization? A world where countries act alone. National interest comes first, cooperation is seen as a burden, migration is politicized, and industrial policy is used for self sufficiency. And global institutions are weak, aid is conditional, and collective bargaining by poor countries is collapsing. The safety net is gone. Now, where does India stand? India is too big to ignore but still too poor to matter. Over the last 15 years, India failed to fully use its demographic advantage. Jobs didn't grow fast enough. Inequality deepened. The base of society remained poor and powerless. India talks big but hasn't built enough real capacity. Now, where can India still succeed then? See, India has real potential in digital public infrastructure, renewable energy, services sector, and democratic decentralization. But here's the problem. These strengths cannot grow on slogans alone. They need strong state capacity, serious investment in health and education, a fairer sharing of growth, and a social cohesion. Why this matters more in the new world order? It is a mercantilistic world. Weak states gets pushed aside. Only capable governments protects interest. And low state capacity means long-term irrelevance. So if India does not build institutions, invest in people and reduce inequality, then claiming to be a Vishwaguru will remain only talk. So the key takeaway of this article is globalization is over, power politics is back. If India doesn't build strong institutions, invest in its people, and share growth more fairly, it will be left behind in the new world order. The next article is, has health spending by the center increased? Short answer is no. States have increased health spending, the center has not. What was the promise? In 2017, the government announced the National Health Policy. It promised two big things. Number one, total government health spending should reach 2.5% of GDP by 2025. Number two, the center should contribute 40% of total public health spending. Today, 2025 is over and we are nowhere near 2.5%. The center's share is only about 0.29% of GDP. To meet the promise, central spending would need to triple. How much does India actually spend on health? India's public health spending is very low even compared to similar countries. Bhutan spends 2.5 times more per person. Sri Lanka spends 3 times more. Other BRICS countries spend 14 to 15 times more. Thailand and Malaysia spend 10 times more. So clearly, India underspends on public health. What happened during COVID? During COVID, health spending did increase slightly, but mostly because states spent more, not the center. After COVID, states continued higher spending. Center reduced health spending. This is based on data from the Reserve Bank of India. So what are the numbers saying? Now first we look at states. Health spending rose from 0.67% of GDP which is in 2017-18, to 1.1% of GDP in 25-26. Share of health in state budgets also increased. If you look at center, health spending fell from 0.37% of GDP in 2021 to 0.29% of GDP in 25-26. Even worse, after adjusting for inflation, Centre's 25-26 health budget is lower than what it spent during COVID. This means with rising prices, less care can be provided now than during the pandemic. What about the health and education cess? In 2018-19, the government introduced a 4% health and education cess. The idea was collect extra money, use it to expand health spending, especially for the poor. But in reality, most of this money did not go to health. In 23-24, around 71,180 crore rupees was collected, only 25% went to health. Now, what about schemes like National Health Mission? Earlier, around 76% of central health spending was transferred to states. This helped states run hospitals, clinics, and frontline services. Now, transfers have fallen to around 43%. This is too little for states to manage healthcare. See, the important point is health is mainly a state responsibility, but money is being centralized at the center. See, the next article is what is the Salman Khan personality rights case? See what exactly happened. Salman Khan went to the Delhi High Court. He asked the court to stop companies and people from using his voice, his image, and his name, or creating AI generated content that sounds or looks like him. The court gave him temporary protection. Now, a China based AI voice app says remove this protection order. Now, who are the defendants? Salman Khan named big tech companies, messaging apps, and also unknown people. To deal with unknown users, courts use something called John Doe. What is John Doe? John Doe means we don't know who the person is yet, but they are misusing my identity. This allows courts to act quickly, stop even when the offender is anonymous. Now, the key concept is what are personality rights? Personality rights means your identity has value. This includes your face, voice, name, and your reputation. For celebrities, their identity is money, and brands pay because of who they are. Courts say using someone's identity without permission, especially to make money, can violate their right to life and dignity. This comes from a landmark judgment of the Supreme Court of India in case Puttaswamy versus Union of India, which said privacy is a fundamental right under Article 21. Is this the first such case? The answer is no. Courts have earlier stopped fake ads, blocked AI generated videos, restrained misuse of celebrity voices and images. But what about freedom of business and expression? That is a very good question. Article 19, Clause 1, Subclause G allows Indians to do business. But this freedom has reasonable restrictions. You cannot mislead the public, pretend a celebrity endorses something, and profit from someone's identity without consent. And also important point here is foreign companies cannot claim Article 19 rights in Indian courts. So this weakens the Chinese AI apps argument. See the next article for the day. Survey raises concerns over unconditional cash transfers. See, the Economic Survey 25-26 is warning states about relying too much on unconditional cash transfers, especially schemes that give direct cash to women without conditions. The survey says these schemes help in the short term but can harm state finances and growth in the long run. Now, what are unconditional cash transfers? See, the government gives money directly, no work requirement, no training requirement, and no condition on how it is used. Example like monthly cash deposited into bank accounts. It clearly says cash transfers increased consumption, they help poor households buy essentials, repay debts, and meet health and personal needs. Last year's survey had also praised targeted cash support. Then why is the survey worried now? Because of scale and persistence. Let's look at the numbers. Total spending on unconditional cash transfers in 25-26 is around 1.7 lakh crore rupees. Number of states running such schemes increased fivefold in just 3 years. Around half these states are already in revenue deficit. So the worry is, how long can states afford this? So what is the main economic concern here? The survey highlights three big problems. Number one, fiscal sustainability problem. Many states are spending 0.7% to 8% of their total budgets on cash transfers alone. That is a huge permanent commitment, and most schemes have no end date and have no regular review. So spending becomes rigid and permanent. Number two, less money for development. States mostly spend money on salaries, pensions, interest, and cash transfers. This is called revenue expenditure. In 23-24, revenue expenditure is equal to 84% of state spending. When cash transfers increase, capital expenditure suffers. That means less spending on roads, hospitals, schools, infrastructure. And capital spending is what creates jobs and long-term growth. Number three, growth versus deficit trade-off. States face a tough choice. Either spend more on cash schemes and cut infrastructure spending, or borrow more and worsen fiscal health. Both options hurt medium-term growth. Now, what is the survey's core argument? The survey says cash transfers alone are not enough. They must be combined with job creation, skill development, education, and health investment. Otherwise, cash gives relief today but weakens growth tomorrow. See the next article for the day. Survey calls for relaxing FRBM for center but says states' finances worsening. See, the economic survey is making two different points. For the central government, be flexible with fiscal rules. For state governments, your finances are getting worse. Be careful. Now, what is this FRBM thing? The Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act says government should keep its fiscal deficit low, ideally around 3% of GDP. Fiscal deficit simply means how much the government borrows in a year. Now, what does the survey say about the center? The survey says don't rush back to very strict FRBM targets right now. Why? Because the world is unstable. There are wars, trade tensions, and economic shocks. The government needs room to adjust spending and taxation. So the survey argues in today's uncertain global situation, flexibility is more important than rigid targets. Now, why not go back to the 3% rule immediately? The survey gives a reality check. Since 2003, the 3% target was achieved only once. Repeated failure damaged India's credibility earlier. After COVID, it took 5 years of discipline to rebuild trust with financial markets and credit rating agencies. So the survey says, promise only what you can realistically deliver. Rigid rules that are repeatedly broken are worse than flexible but credible targets. Now comes the warning to states. While the center is praised, states are cautioned. The survey says state finances are deteriorating. Here's what happening. States with revenue surplus fell from 19 states to 11 states in 24-25. Collective revenue deficit of states rose from 0.1% to 0.7% of GDP. This means more states are spending more than they earn just to run daily expenses. Why are states' finances worsening? The survey points to slower revenue growth, rising expenditure, increasing cash transfer schemes, and high committed expenses like salaries, pensions, and subsidies. So, states are losing financial breathing space. So, what is the core message? For center, it has shown fiscal discipline. It needs flexibility, not rigid rules in a risky global environment. For states, they are slipping into revenue deficits. They need to control spending and improve finances. See, the next article is Economic Survey highlights uneven distribution of secondary schools. See, the economic survey is pointing out a serious gap in India's education system, especially at the secondary school level, classes 9 to 12. The main problem is not enrollment in early classes. The real problem is keeping children in school after class 8. What is the big goal India wants to achieve? Under the National Education Policy NEP 2020, India wants children to study for 15 years on average. Right now, it's only 13 years. To reach 15 years, students must enter secondary school and stay there. But that's where the system is failing. Now, what is the main structural problem? The survey says Secondary schools are unevenly distributed. In rural India, only 17% of schools offer secondary education. In urban areas, only 38% of schools offer secondary education. So, for many children, there is no nearby school after class 8. This directly leads to dropouts. Who are dropping out the most? The survey shows the largest group of out of school children is aged 14 to 18. This is exactly the secondary school age group. According to labor survey data, nearly 2 crore adolescents in this age group are out of school. Now, why are children dropping out? This is the most important part. The number one reason is economic pressure at home. For boys, 67% drop out to work, earn money, and support family income. For girls, 55% drop out due to domestic work and care responsibilities at home. So, the problem is not lack of interest, it is poverty and responsibility. What does the survey warn about? The survey says high dropout rates mean India is wasting its demographic advantage. Without secondary education, children enter low skilled, low paid work and human capital remains weak. That's why the survey says retaining students after grade 8 is critical. What about skills and vocational education? The survey gives a shocking statistic. Only 0.97% of adolescents 14 to 18 years have received any formal skill training. 92% have received no institutional skilling at all. So students are leaving school without skills and without qualifications. This is dangerous for long-term growth. So what solutions does the survey suggest? The survey highlights three big focus areas. Number one, expands secondary schools, especially in rural areas. Closer schools is equal to fewer dropouts. Number two, integrate skills with schooling. Combine education with vocational training and job-oriented skills. So students see value in staying in school. Number three, strengthen higher education capacity. Most higher education institutes are run by states. So states need more capacity, better funding and better governance. See, the next article is survey calls for tackling rising digital addiction, mental health problems. See, digital addiction and screen overuse are becoming a major health problem in India, especially for children and teenagers. This is no longer just a bad habit issue, it is now a public health concern. Now, what does digital addiction mean here? It means too much time on phones, tablets, games, reels, or social media. Difficulty concentrating without screens, anxiety, sleep problems, mood swings, and reduced physical activity and social interaction. The survey says this is hurting mental health, particularly among the young. Now, what solution does the survey suggest? The survey does not say ban phones, instead, it suggests structured and practical controls. Now, what schools should do? The survey recommends cyber safety education, how to use the internet safely. Peer mentor programs, students helping students, mandatory physical activity every day, normalizing mental health conversations. The idea here is teach children how to live with technology, not run away from it. What parents should do? The survey clearly says parents need training on screen time management. Children need age appropriate digital access. Not every app is meant for every age. Next, what tech platforms should do? The survey talks about platform accountability. This means platforms should not freely push harmful content, addictive algorithms. They should be responsible for what children see. A new and interesting idea is network level controls. This is important and it is very new. The survey suggests different data plans, one for education, one for entertainment, and automatic blocking of high risk content categories. So even before content reaches the phone, the network itself adds a safety layer. Now, what about mental health support? The survey talks about expanding telemanas. Right now, telemanas mainly handles crisis counseling. The survey suggests use it for digital addiction counseling, connect it with the schools, colleges, and trains counselors specifically for youth issues. See, why is this so important for India? Because India's biggest strength is its young population. If young people are mentally stressed or physically inactive and develop lifestyle diseases early, then India's demographic dividend becomes a liability. So the survey says invest in preventive care, focus on nutrition, mental health, digital wellness, and community health systems. The good news is India has made big health gains. The survey also highlights the achievements like maternal mortality reduced by 86%, under 5 mortality down by 78%, neonatal deaths reduced sharply, infant mortality dropped from 40 to 25 per thousand births. So, India can succeed when it focuses seriously on health. The next article is Financial Sector Regulators Must Walk the Tightrope Economic Survey. What does walking a tightrope mean here? It means balancing two opposite things at the same time. Allow global money to come into India like foreign investment, global capital flows, and modern financial products. Second, protect India from sudden global shocks like financial crisis, capital flight, and global uncertainty. Too much openness is equal to risk of instability, and too much control is equal to loss of growth and confidence. Now, regulators must find the middle path. What approach does the survey recommend? The survey says one rule cannot fit everyone. India's financial system is very mixed, big sophisticated markets in cities and small and fragile markets in rural and semi urban areas. So, regulators should use differentiated supervision. Now, what does differentiated supervision mean? New, fragile, or risky segments need a shorter leash, more rules, and closer monitoring. For mature and stable markets, it can be given more freedom, fewer restrictions. This helps prevent reckless risk taking and encourage innovation where the system is strong. See, the survey gives strong data to support this claim. If you take banking sector, it is healthier. Bad loans, that is NPAs, are at record low levels. Gross NPAs is around 2.2%. Net NPAs is 0.5%. This means banks are safer, balance sheets are stronger. Number 2, credit growth is strong. Bank credit grew by 14.5% in December 2025 compared to 11.2% in the previous year. This shows banks are lending and economy is active. Number 3, more peoples are joining financial markets. 2.35 crore new demat accounts added in financial year 26. Total demat accounts is equal to 21.6 crore and 12 crore unique investors with nearly 25% women. This means financial participation is becoming broader and more inclusive. Number 4, mutual funds are spreading beyond big cities. 5.9 crore mutual fund investors, 3.5 crore from non-metro towns. So investment culture is no longer limited to rich urban centers. See, the next article is critical minerals or strategic choke points in energy transition. What are these critical minerals? They include lithium, cobalt, nickel, copper, and rare earth elements. These minerals are needed for electric vehicle batteries, solar panels, wind turbines, power grids, defense, and electronics. Without them, clean energy cannot happen. Now, why are they called strategic choke points? A choke point means a place where control is concentrated and can be used as leverage. These minerals affect energy security, industrial competitiveness, and geopolitical power. Some countries control their supply, and these countries are restricting exports and using minerals as strategic tools. So, now energy transition is not just about climate, it's also about power and politics. How are rich countries responding to this? Advanced economies are pushing for standards based critical mineral markets. That means minerals must meet rules on sustainability, traceability, governance, environmental, and social standards. On paper, these standards sound good and necessary, but there is a problem. What is the problem for developing countries? The survey points out three major challenges. Number 1, very high cost. Following these standards means high upfront investment, continuous monitoring and compliance, and expensive certification systems. For developing countries, these costs can be too heavy to bear. Number 2, risk of being stuck at the bottom of the value chain. The survey warns that standards may be narrowly defined and unevenly enforced. This can lead to developing countries exporting only raw minerals while rich countries do processing, manufacturing, high value technology. So, poor countries dig, rich countries yearn. So, this repeats the old resource extraction model. Number 3, higher prices without support. The survey talks about sustainability premiums. This means prices rise because minerals meet green standards, but no matching finance, no technology sharing, and no capacity building. The result is clean energy becomes more expensive, developing countries suffer more, and global energy transition slows down. So, what is the deeper message from this article? If the energy transition is driven only by rules made by rich countries without helping poorer countries, it will be unequal and unfair. The next article is Native Language Voice First AI to Expand Digital Inclusion. See, most digital services today are text heavy, need good internet, assume users can read and type comfortably in English. This excludes millions of people. Voice first AI changes this. It allows people to speak in their own language, use services through voice instead of typing, and access services on cheap smartphones and low data. So, the idea is if people can talk to technology in their own language, many more can use it. That is how voice based AI helps digital inclusion. Now, what does frugal AI mean here? Frugal AI means low cost, low data use, works on simple devices and designed for scale. So instead of expensive high-end AI, this AI is made for ordinary people. So India can reach millions without needing costly infrastructure. See, the next article is Notable Rise in India's Oil Sources. The economic survey highlights that India is importing crude oil from a wider set of countries than before. Instead of depending heavily on just a few suppliers like Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Iraq, India has boosted purchases from places like the US, UAE, Egypt, Nigeria, and Libya in the current fiscal year. And this shift reflects a deliberate diversification strategy to reduce risk from geopolitical tensions and supply disruptions. And this strengthened energy security and give Indian refiners more flexibility in sourcing crude. See, one key takeaway from this ethanol blending has impact on food security is the economic survey warns that expanding ethanol blending is pushing farmers towards maize at the cost of pulses and oil seeds, and this is risking higher food prices and greater edible oil imports, even as the program saves foreign exchange and cuts crude oil use. The last article for the day, From Moon to MRIs, How Space Research Has Transformed Healthcare. See, there is a key word in this article which is spin offs. What are spin offs? Spin offs are useful technologies that were not originally made for public use but later came out of space research and started helping people on Earth. So, how do spin offs happen? Space missions face extreme problems like no gravity, no doctors nearby, limited power, space, and weight, harsh radiation, and temperatures. So, scientists are forced to invent new solutions, smaller machines, lighter materials, more accurate sensors, and very reliable systems. Later, these same solutions are reused on Earth in hospitals, in homes, industries, and public services. That reuse is called a spin off. See, NASA wanted to improve images of the moon. They developed advanced digital image processing. Doctors later used the same technology for CT scans, MRI scans, ultrasound. The result is clearer images, less radiation, and better diagnosis. That medical improvement is a space spin off. Why are spin offs important then? Because money spent on space research is not wasted. One invention helps many sectors, and poor and remote populations benefit the most. Especially for countries like India, space spin offs mean low cost, high impact healthcare solutions. So that's all for today. Thank you all for joining.